So today I want us to talk a little bit of functions. So let's go. They say the graphs of f of x equals x squared minus 4 and g of x equals negative x plus 2 are sketched below. A and B are the x-intercepts of f, and then C and D are the y-intercepts of f and g, respectively. So K is a point on G such that BK is parallel to the x-axis. Now, this is actually a mistake. BK is parallel to the y-axis and perpendicular to the x-axis. That's fine. And then they say F and G intersect at A and at E like that. So the first question says, write down the coordinates of C. So C, we understand it's going to be the y-intercept of the parabolic function. So if we go to the equation of the parabola, in standard form, we understand it's supposed to be ax squared plus q. So we said q is the value of the y-intercept. So in this case, it's going to be -4. But now we know at the y-intercept, it's actually where x is 0. So meaning the coordinates of C will be where x is 0, y is going to be -4, like that. And then you are set. So the same thing applies if you must find the coordinates of D. D is just going to be the y-intercept of g of x. So if this is the equation of g of x, then the y-intercept is going to be 2 like that. So in coordinate form, you'll say it's 0 and +2 like that. So you are set. So what about the third question? They say determine the length of CD. So one thing we know about CD is that it's a vertical length. So every time when you must find a vertical distance, you only consider the y values. So you say the bigger y value minus the smaller y value, like that. So you'll realize the length of CD will just be 6 units like that. And then you are set. So if you must calculate the horizontal distance, you only consider the x values. You say the bigger x value minus the smaller x value, and then you are set. So if we look at 5.4, it says calculate the coordinates of B like that. So what is B? B, we understand it's going to be one of the x-intercepts of the parabolic function. So it means we have to use the parabola in order to find the coordinates of B. So that's the equation of the parabola. But now, if this is the parabola f of x equals x squared minus 4, so we know that at the x-intercept is where y is equal to 0, like that. So here you need to solve for x. You can decide to take 4 to the other side so that it becomes positive, and then you apply the square root on both sides. Then you say the square root of x squared is x, but the square root of 4 is supposed to be plus or minus 2. Because this is a quadratic equation, we need to have 2 solutions at the end of the day. So this means x is -2 or x is +2 like that. But if you prefer, you could have said 0 equals x squared minus 4, and then you realize this is actually the difference of 2 squares. So how do you factorize the difference of 2 squares? You're going to open 2 brackets. You say factors of x squared, it's x and x. Factors of 4, it's just going to be 2 and 2. For the difference of 2 squares, the signs must be opposite like that. so that you'll say x equals -2 or x equals +2, like that. So after finding your values of x, you have to decide now. So if you look at point B, it's on the negative x-axis. So meaning the coordinates of B are supposed to be -2 and 0, like that. But if you had to find the coordinates of A, maybe, you are just going to say, okay, A is on the positive x-axis, so I must take the +2, and then I say 0 there. So the 0 comes from the fact that at the x-intercept, y is equal to 0. Yes, and then you are set. So that's just how you find the coordinates of B. Okay, that's fine. And then the fifth question says, determine the coordinates of E, which is just the point of intersection of F and G, like that. So you need to understand that at the point of intersection, it's where your two functions are equal. So because it's where the two functions are equal, then you need to equate your two functions in order to find those points of intersection. So at A and E, this is where f of x is equal to g of x. What is it doing now? So it's where f of x is equal to g of x. Then you say, what is g of x? G of x is just -x plus 2. What about f of x? It's just going to be x squared minus 4, like that. Then what do? You write the equation in standard form. So meaning you take everything to the right. So you're going to have x squared plus x, because this -x becomes positive when it gets to the right. And then the 2 becomes negative when it gets to the right. So -4 minus 2 is just going to be -6, like that. You realize it's a quadratic trinomial, so you need to factorize it by opening two brackets, like that. Oh, my voice is betraying me now. I'm sorry for that. We are back in business. Yes, so you'll say factors of x squared, it's x and x, and then factors of 6, you'll just take 3 and 2, because we are looking for factors of 6 that add up to 1. So the bigger number takes the sign of the middle term, and then this one has to be negative. So it means the first x coordinate of the point of intersection will be -3, while the second one is going to be at 2, like that. So here we realize -3 goes for E, because E is on the negative x-axis. And then +2 will just go with A. So we already know that the coordinates of A are going to be 2 and 0, like that. So if we must find those of E, now that we have the x coordinate at E, we can choose to take it and substitute it into either one of these two equations. So it's up to you which equation do you prefer. If you decide to substitute -3 in the function of g, then you say where you see x, you put -3. So it means g of -3 will be 5. But if you decided to use the function of f, then f of -3 will just be -3 squared minus 4. So -3 squared, it's going to be +9. 9 minus 4 will just be 5. So what is important is that the coordinates of E are going to be -3 as well as 5, like that. So that's how you find the points of intersection of your two functions. You simply equate the two functions because it's where they are equal. And then you are set. Yes, let's look at question number 6 now. So this one is broken into two parts, but listen to what it says. They say, for which values of x will f of x be less than g of x? So how do we say this in English? Let's go to our graphs like that. So we are looking for the values of x such that the function of f will be below the function of g. That's the meaning of f is less than g. It means f is below g of x. So one thing we understand is that at -3, the functions are equal. But anywhere between -3 and +2 there, we can see the function of f is going to be below the function of g. So that's our solution for this one. So for 5.6.1, we are just going to tell them, okay, for f of x to be less than g of x, it's all the values of x that are between +2 and -3 like that. But the alternative notation to this, you can say from -3 all the way to 2. You don't include -3 and 2, meaning you don't use a square bracket, you use a round bracket. Why? Because at exactly -3 and 2, the functions are equal. So that's why you must exclude these 2 points. Okay, that's fine. Now let's go and see the second question, 5.6.2. So here they say we are still looking for the values of x such that f of x multiplied by g of x is greater or equal to 0. So in English, we are saying we are looking for the values of x such that if you take the y value on f, you multiply it by the y value on g, then the product is going to be either equal to 0 or positive. That's the meaning. So let's look at point B. So if we look on the left of point B, meaning all the way from -infinity up until -2 there, what is happening? Both of these functions are above the x-axis. So meaning both of them are positive. The y values are positive there. So if I say the y value at f multiplied by the y value at g, all the way from -infinity to -2, the product will always be positive. So that's the solution we are looking for. Now, furthermore, the y value on the function of f at exactly -2, which is at the x-intercept, it's going to be 0. So 0 multiplied by the y value here on k for the function of g, we are going to get a product of 0. So it means we need to include -2 because at exactly -2, the product will be 0, like that. Yes, the product will just be 0. But now let's look for the other solution if it exists. So if you look between -2, which is at B, all the way to +2, the function of f is going to be negative, meaning the y values are negative because it's below the x-axis. But for the function of g, the y values are positive. Positive times negative is a negative. So it's not the solution we are looking for. That's fine. Now, if we look all the way from 2 to positive infinity, the y values on f will be positive because it's above the x-axis, but the y values on g will now be negative. So positive times negative, unfortunately, it's still going to be a negative result. So if we must find the values of x, for which f of x multiplied by g of x is greater or equal to 0. So here we are saying it's any value of x from negative infinity up until negative 2. But we have to include negative 2 because at exactly negative 2, the product of these two y values will just be 0. So the alternative notation for this, you can say it's any value of x that is less or equal to negative 2 like that. So you'll just choose which notation works for you. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Let's see the last question. What does it say? So the last question says, calculate the length of AK. So how do you find the length of AK? So let's look at this diagram. So here we can see AK is just going to be the hypotenuse of the right-angled triangle ABK, like that. That's what we know. So if you must find the hypotenuse, you have to use the theorem of Pythagoras. So what am I saying? Firstly, we need to know what is the length of AK and what is the length of BK, like that. So the length of, sorry, not AK, I mean AB, yes. We have to know the length of AB as well as the length of BK. That's what I want to say. So we know the coordinates of A and B. We can easily find the length AB. But if we look at BK, we don't know what is the y value at K. But we know that the x value at K is going to be negative 2 because BK is just a vertical line. So the x value here will be the same as the x value at K. So if we have the x value at K, we can find the corresponding y value by substituting negative 2 into the function of G. Yes. So let's go and do exactly as we say. So we are saying we want to know what is the y value when x is negative 2. So we go to the function of G for that. So we'll say, okay, and then we say plus 2 like that. So the y value when x is negative 2 is just going to be positive 4. So meaning the coordinates of k will just be negative 2 and positive 4 like that. So if you must find the length of BK, you understand that BK is a vertical line, so we only consider the y values. We'll say the bigger y value minus the smaller y value. So the length of BK is going to be 4 units, like that. Fine stuff. And then we look at the length of AB. So we'll say the bigger x value minus the smaller x value. So it's just going to be 4 units as well. That's fine. So now that we know these two distances, we understand that AK is the hypotenuse of this right-angled triangle. So if we must find AK, it's just going to be the square root of AB, which is 4. And then we add this to the square root of BK, which is also going to be 4 like that. So this is going to be the square root of what? 4 squared is 16 plus another 16 is just going to be 32 like that. So depending, if they want the answer as a decimal, then you can just write it as a decimal. But if they say in SAT form, you can simplify it to 4 the square root of 2 units like that. But in decimal form, it's going to be 5.67 units. And that's how you find the length of AK. So who said we can't take analytical geometry and put it inside functions? No one said that. So we can do that. But this question, it actually brings us to the end of the whole of question. Is it question 5? Yes, it's actually question 5, which was written in November 2016. So I really hope it helps a lot. And if you really did enjoy the video, please don't forget to like it, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any video I post. But thank you so much for watching. Let's see you in the next one.